Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, joined by our ace reporter, Phil Sharkey, president and owner of the Hire Authority. Always good to be on with you.
Hey, Jonathan, good to see you again. I'm glad I caught you here. I look forward to talking today. It's always been always a pleasure.
Well, always a pleasure, and you're always bringing us interesting tidbits, tips, and insight for entrepreneurs and business owners, and in the world of what can go wrong out there with candidates. And why don't you tell us what you want to talk about this morning, Phil?
Here's what I got for you, Jonathan. See if this hopefully finds you interesting. I get this a lot in my line of work, Jonathan, is why conduct employment screening? Why even bother? I get this a lot when I'm marketing. I have clients that go like, why even bother? What's the matter in our world today as we see how crazy it can be? Why even bother? And hopefully I got some stats here that may sway the people who say that, especially our entrepreneurs and our small business owners. So if you like, Jonathan, like jump right into it.
Before you jump into the stats, I guess I'd like to ask the question, what do people mean by why even bother? Because if they find something negative, what are we going to do about it? We like that candidate. Like, what's the why bother?
Exactly. I get the why bother. I think it's two reasons. The main one is, Jonathan, I can't find anyone anyways, Phil. I can't get people to fill my slots. So I don't want to know. I don't want to find out what you will surface because I need anybody, any warm body to fill this position. So why bother? The other one I get is that, well, people all have issues, don't be big brother, don't go into their closets. We all have problems. And granted, we do, but what I surface to the tune of about 30% of the background checks we conduct, it's more than just a little bit of a problem. It's a person that can really harm your bottom line. So that's the why bother that I get.
Well, thank you for clearing that up. I mean, I think it's the times that we're in. There's a lot of behavior, and let's forget about behavior actions that seem to be acceptable to a lot of people. And so I think warn me now. What's the old expression? Or warn me now, shame on me. Warn me later, shame on you, or whatever. I think I got that backwards. But
exactly.
anyhow,
you got the gist of it. But I try to tell people all the times, and this is stated by many experts in the field, that employees are the lifeblood of your company. So
sure.
I understand there may be staffing problems and many even people that you speak with regarding staffing agencies. But if you can't take the time and energy to try and put the right staff in place, it's going to cost you more than if you just blindly go in and say, all right, you want a job walking off the street, go ahead. It's not the old United States of America anymore. You can't just do a handshake and hope it's going to work out. And hopefully these stats I show you will back my point up and people want to use us exclusively. So
sounds good. Let's jump into the stats.
What is the cost of a bad hire, Jonathan? That's the first thing I get. There's a monetary and intangible cost of a bad hire. And I'm going to show you some numbers here. This is from the U.S. Department of Labor just last year, that a bad hire can cost your business 30% of the employee's first year earnings. So 1/3 of that salary you're going to pay someone is what they factor a bad hire will cost you. Some human resource agencies estimate that this cost to be even higher, ranging from as high as $240,000 to $850,000 per employee. So again, this might be on the high side for high-ranking positions, et cetera, but it's a huge cost, just the monetary aspect of it. And this goes right down to the employees paying minimum wage and that cost of service for someone working for our local small companies. Big number, Jonathan. Big number.
I'm gonna go somewhere in the middle, Phil, and say even if you split the difference, you're talking about big dollars.
Big dollars, and it can bankrupt a small company. It can affect your bottom line. It can hurt you monetarily. Then there's also the intangible cost.
Reputation, the reputation associated with bad hires.
Your branding, everything that affects you if you bring someone in with the smallest of check. And again, Jonathan, our background checks can cost someone $200 to $300. Criminal checks only can cost as low as $60. So the investment in that is a small investment, I think, to offset the possible damage that can be incurred by these numbers. The intangible costs. We had a quote here from Jonathan Hill. He's the chairman and CEO of a recruiting firm called The Energist. And he says the intangible costs, as we just spoke of, Jonathan, clients or customers lost due to the mistakes of the bad employee, the impact of the mental health and stress level of their coworkers, the extra time spent by other members trying to redo their poor work and salvage disrupted projects are immediate factors of the intangible facts of a poor employee. So big numbers for sure. What I have for you, Jonathan, quickly, and I do want to get, because I have one superstar Halloween fraudulent liar to wrap up with for you, but is they claim this is the 6 reasons that are the main benefits of a background check. So I'll fly through them and let me hear what you think about them. 6 reasons why you should pay us, the higher authority, to do a background check for you, even when you think you can't find good people. The number one is increased job applicant quality. So if you make a pre-employment check as a staple of a recruitment process, it encourages applicants to submit accurate resumes. I can't tell you the amount of times I've had clients go like, well, the word's out about our company now. So the charlatans, the people who just think they can walk in with a BS resume, the word's out now. So I don't have to spend any money. They know we're going to check. They know we're a no nonsense place, that's not going to be acceptable.
I'm going to interject on number one, because I know you've always got backup stats, Phil. What is the incidence of inaccuracies on a resume in general applications?
It's 30 to 50% of resumes are fraudulent. Now, again, a resume compared to a job application is that contract, you sign it. A resume is fraught with boastful claims, and that line is gray, Jonathan, when boastful becomes a flat out lie. But we have a lot of examples where if you say you have a degree on your resume, you're not boasting any longer. You're not making a claim that you were a top 10% of the company in this or that. You're flat out making a claim that's a lie, and you're falsifying. And we get that right on down the line with employers. We see a lot is extended time frames, and this is more of a gray area. You say you worked there 2 years, we find out you worked there 8 months. Now, some people are like, well, what's the big deal? The big deal is the person knows they didn't work there 2 years. Why are you saying such? Again, boastful claim or fraudulency, I'm not sure, but it ties, my job is to be the pit bull and go after these people for my clients.
Well, the interesting thing about a phrase white lie is it still has the term lie in it. So
it's true. It's true. So when, especially I talked about my small companies, a lot of the radio entrepreneurs, family of entrepreneurs have a small business with just a handful of handpicked employees. So when you leave for the day or you go do your business, can you trust them to be doing their business and not taking advantage of you? Because that's what
and every one of these things gets multiplied. We talk about these all the time, but if you think about a little, as I said, a white lie, that turns into issues within the workforce, which turns into suddenly, product is walking out the back door, which turns into no shows to work or doing other work or what have you. I mean, it just snowballs from there.
It sure does. And we all know the old statement where, some people make the room better by walking in, some make it better by walking out. So that one bad hire for that one bad person poisons the rest of the staff. People tend to congregate. They want to bring up negativity. They sort of foster that, and it grows and grows and grows. And many of the business owners I've spoken to just can see it coming a mile away and wish they had stopped it before it happened.
And really impacts the culture of the business. So
it does.
Number two,
improved quality of the hire, weeding out unsuitable candidates and ensuring that what appears on the resume, as we just talked about, is true, helps employers select the right candidate for the role. Very simply put, then your background check, Jonathan, is information. Information is power to give you the best decision available for your business. So you can have the straight stuff and you can make a clear-headed decision. Number 3 is avoiding negative publicity and cost to the company. We talked on that on our own. The dishonest staff cost your organization, damage its reputation, incurring negative publicity. Background checks verify employment records. As we know, we discover illegal or criminal activity, which many applicants hide, of course. Vetting all aspects of a prospective employee makes all the difference between a good and bad employee. 4 is ensuring a safe workplace and staff security. Now we start to get into some numbers, which I always dig. The U.S. Department of Justice just last year said workplace violence leads to 1.7 million lost workdays each year. 1.7 million. And also more than 50 million in annual wages is lost due to workplace violence.
And workplace violence takes on a lot of different forms. And so it's not, obviously we hear in the news all the time, it's tragic, somebody walking in, shooting up a workplace, but I'm sure that there's other types of physical intimidation and threats and, fist fights and other weapons. So, we only hear a small percentage of what actually goes on, I'm sure.
Absolutely. You hear those gross exaggerations and those catastrophic events, but it's the little things, almost like a boxer with a jab. Those little jabs keep adding up day after day, things in the workplace, things in the lunchroom. I just had an employee I know started a job and they sat down in a chair and the employee said, well, that's my chair. I mean, just trying to start my job here and work well. And you got a problem employee who is making these types of claims. It's intimidation, and it's happening all the time. The number 5 reason, Jonathan, is my big one: preventing employee dishonesty. Background checks are an extremely effective way to prevent employee dishonesty. The numbers are staggering, as they say employee fraud results in an average loss of 5% of annual revenue for a company. And, which may apply to our viewership here, the numbers are even more alarming for small companies, which face up to 28% higher chances of fraud loss with a bad employee, and 30% of business failures are due to employee theft or employee poor hires. So 1/3 of the companies end up closing. It's not their market, it's not their product, it's that the people working for them are frauds and lead them down a path of bankruptcy. Huge number.
Wow. Frightening. Yeah.
I live on the fright, my friend. That's what I do. Especially with Halloween coming, I scare the heck
There
out
you go.
The final reason they say the 6 is reducing staff turnover, which hiring staffs tell you all the time. By vetting people, doing a proper background check, you get a more stable staff. People that are less flighty, people are less chance of coming and going, and it really settles that. So those 6 reasons, Jonathan, back up the pitch that I make when I talk to people. And I tell them, well, a background check will cost you $200 or $300 maximum, working down from there. And it seems to be a small investment to try and keep these problems from walking in your door.
Well, as I always feel really impactful. I was going to say, after number 1, you've got me sold. Those 6 reasons alone, each one of them, I think, stands on their own for a good ROI on potentially weeding out a bad hire that can cost the company thousands of dollars, and in some cases, tank the company for permanently. So, great stuff. You wanted to share a real life case study with us before we wrap up today?
I do. I'll go quickly. I know we're running up against the clock, but this goes back sometimes to April of 2003, and our famous, let's see here, Halloween wrongdoer is Dr. Laura Callahan. And she was great because she was the Security Department Chief Information Officer. She oversaw a budget for the U.S. Department of Labor of $420 million IT budget. She was in charge of overseeing the Department of Labor. She had a PhD in computer science, she says, and multiple other degrees as well. And what happened was the U.S. government, this was again back in the year 2000, 2003, just right around, our 9/11 events and these type of huge security issues. Very important position. Someone did a Google search on her. Government did not vet properly. She did not have any of the degrees she claimed, not a PhD, not a master's, not a bachelor's. She went to actually what we call them education mills. I know them well in my industry. You can just go buy your degrees. And she was smart enough. She did spread them out, Jonathan. So the PhD was 2000, master's 95, and bachelor's 93. So she did the right timing on them. But a quick search by a Google search of her employees, and she was very difficult to work for. She demanded to be called doctor at all times. She mentioned her degrees 9 times in her single-page biography for the government. So
could have been a red flag alone.
Well, yeah, exactly. Talk about full of yourself. So a simple Google search by a underling found out that she had no degrees and they all were fake. And she subsequently, her and her 6-figure salary was let go from her government position.
Well, I hope she wasn't around long enough to get a pension, because otherwise you and I are still paying for it.
We still are. We paid for her 6-figure salary as well. So again, a huge tale about right around Halloween about fraudulency. And I tell the people out there, it will come back to get you. Eventually someone will check. Hopefully they'll use us before you bring them on board to check people out.
Fantastic, Phil. Always great stuff. If people want to get in touch with you, want to reach out to you, talk about the higher authority, usually for a background check screening, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, website is hireauth.com. That's hireauth.com. Our name shortened, Higher Authority. You can call us toll free at 888-230-5901. And guess what? You actually get a human being, a person answers the phone here, unlike a lot of the warehouse screening mill houses themselves, which just have, we'll get back to you in 2 weeks. So you can get right through to us.
You are fabulously different, Phil, from the authority himself, Phil Sharkey, president and founder of the Higher Authority. Wonderful stuff, and really appreciate you coming on this morning to Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Jonathan. It was a pleasure.
And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.